Riding back down an old dirt track, yeah, I've driven down a few. Somewhere between where I've been and where these wheels are going to. Well, you can take the road that's easy.
So this is as far as we're going to take the Triton on this particular track, because it's pretty hardcore down there, to the point where I'm not even sure I'll be able to get the troopy back up. But if I can't, it'll be a good chance to show you how to winch safely. Now this hill is really quite soft, so you want to be extra careful your car doesn't go into a slide. I'm going to try and stick to the wheel ruts here and try and avoid the tree. Now usually this is not the smartest thing to be doing, going down a hill when you don't know what's at the bottom. And I can already see a dead end. So if I can turn around, I'll have to winch back up. If I can't turn around, then the good thing is I've got Don back up the hill and he'll be able to reverse winch me up. Turning around a vehicle on a slope like this is never really much fun. It's always heart in your mouth kind of stuff. Because you need to figure out for yourself whether or not your vehicle can handle the side slopes you're putting it on. Now I could probably give this hill a crack and try and get halfway up it, or maybe even get the whole way up, but it's a great example of how to use a winch in a situation like this. Winching really boils down to having a good, healthy respect with how deadly winching can really be if you don't do it right. So always have the right equipment and do it safely. So that means even the little things like using gloves. What I'm going to do now is put the winch in free spool and drag it up to a suitable tree. Once you've got to a tree that you think's suitable, make sure you give it a good look over. Check that there's no dead branches that are going to fall on your head and that the tree's not actually dead itself. Then what you need is a tree protector strap. When you put your tree protector strap around the tree, you obviously want to have it down nice and low to where the stable part of the tree is. Don't have it up high and pulling on a lever like that. Now the shackle you use is really important. Don't ever use a D-shackle or anything that's not rated, because if this lets go, it becomes like a flying piece of shrapnel and could potentially kill someone. You get your shackle, you slide him through the tree protector strap, you put the bolt in. Now there's no need to do the bolt up really, really tight, just finger tight's good enough. Get the cable, unlatch him, slide him through, and you're pretty much done for this part. The next thing is to use a dampener of some sort or a blanket, because obviously when you're winching you're usually on a hill, so you need to have one that can secure firmly to the winch cable so it doesn't slide back down the hill. Now it's really important that you have this on from a safety point of view. If the cable ever should break, this will act like a dampener. It'll stop it recoiling so far and taking your head off. Now that I've finished abseiling my way back down the hill, I'm going to put the winch back into gear and I'll slowly take up the slack. Now that I've taken up most of the slack, it's time to winch the car back up the hill. Winching puts a fair amount of strain on your car's batteries. In fact, it puts a heap of strain on them. So you need to make sure when you're winching that you've got the engine of your car running. You might even like to use the throttle a little bit and get the revs up a bit higher to help get that charge through. And remember, winching's not a race. Most winches need quite a bit of time to cool down, and they don't like winching for long periods of time. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. What I'm going to do now is take up the slack. The car's in neutral, and I can start to feel it pulling now. Once you get about halfway up the climb or close to the dampener here, it goes without saying you need to hop out of the car and move it slightly further up. When you're doing this, make sure you've left the car in gear so you haven't got your face down near a cable that's holding heaps of energy. Just remember, when you're doing this, just inch your car slightly forward to release tension on the line. Once you've got to a spot where you're confident your car can drive out on its own accord, it's just a matter of packing back up what we unpacked before. Now that the winch is back in, I can drive back up this hill and find out where Don's got to. And to check more TJM four-wheel driving tips, go to tjm.com.au. TJM.
get yourself in this situation, the tip is resort to winching. Now I'll go and get the gear and I'll show you how it's done. Firstly, just let me touch on what this winch has got on it. It's called synthetic rope. Much lighter and much easier to handle than steel. Much easier for old blokes to get up the hill with this. This rope is a lot easier to handle than wire, but I'll put the gloves on anyway. Shackle, I'm away. All of these straps weaken when you twist them. So always make sure they're straight, shackle to shackle. When you tighten that by hand, back off half a turn. Then it won't bind up, that's ready to go.
Recovery camper.
Synthetic rope holds very little kinetic energy, therefore is generally safe. This is just double insurance and good form. Safe as a bank. We're ready to winch. Okay, what we need to do now is just take up a little bit of slack, and once we're over this challenge, we can drive the rest of the way. We run our engine while winching because we need the alternator to repower the battery. The winch takes about 300 to 400 amps when it's working, and that'll flatten the battery in virtually no time. Brakes off. Up we come. From here I can drive. Now all that remains is to de-rig here, and we're on our way. Voila!
And to check more TJM four-wheel driving tips, go to tjm.com.au.
Driving back down an old dirt track, yeah, I've driven down a few. Somewhere between where I've been and where these wheels are going to. Well, you can take the road that's easy, a highway straight.
Sometimes a single line winch pull isn't enough, especially if you're really good at getting stuck like Don. So if you want to double your pulling power, you're going to need one of these. Here you go, Don.
Thank you, sir. You grab the rope and bring it back up, that'll be fine. This is a snatch block, 10,000 kg. It's essentially a pulley with a facility here. You put the rope around it, lock it up, and we can halve the stress on the winch.
Here you go, Don. It's on free sport.
Putting our winch rope through the snatch block and shackle up. Finger tight and back off half turn. Okay, we'll use 2 blankets for this. Ready to winch.
Now you may not need a snatch block all that often, but it's really important to have it in your kit just in case you do. Because not only will it double your pulling power, it'll also allow you to pull on a different angle. And on that note, if you're using this vehicle as an anchor, just make sure it's firmly secured either at the back or very secure on the ground.
A maintenance tip for synthetic rope. This is good stuff, but it gets contaminants in it, and that's its Achilles heel. Dirt causes it to wear. Wash it, air dry it, put it back on, it's ready to go again, and it'll last you for years.
And to check more TJM four-wheel driving tips, go to tjm.com.au.
Driving back down an old dirt track, yeah, I've driven down a few. Somewhere between where I've been and where these wheels are going to. Well, you can take the road that's easy, a highway straight and long with the grid.
Got stuck again, Don.
Mate, I've got it right up to the gunnels. Mate, you're the sand driving expert, so why don't you see if you can get her out?
Put the pressure on, why don't you? Sometimes I reckon you do this stuff on purpose.
Could be.
In your defence though, this is the softest track on Fraser.
And I see, mate, you've got to fold yourself in half just to get in the front of that one.
I'm not actually sure if I'll get out of here, but the first thing I'll notice when I hop in the car is that it's not in low range.
Should it be?
So what I'm trying to do now is slowly rock the car back and forwards. And you just get a small movement each time until it builds up and up. Now this is much easier to do in a manual vehicle. It's one of the few advantages that manuals have over autos. Righto, Don's actually got himself pretty stuck here, mainly because the Triton doesn't have quite as much clearance as the Troopy. It's really getting belly flopped up on the front. So because I don't want to drive into the soft sand myself here, I might have to join two snatches together to get you out. Don, I'll be back in a sec.
Now, since we're going to join this to another one, I'll roll it another way. Both ends together. Always remember to keep the strap flat. It loses considerable strength once you twist it or get it wet. Getting a strap wet sometimes is not an option. So when there's twists in the strap, it's considerably weakened. Probably 20% of its rated strength goes. Why we are going to put these two ends together, it makes it easy to join this to another strap so we can stand off and not get into this soft stuff. When these two join, we'll never get the knot apart, hence this little thing.
Here you go, Don.
I see you've even rolled it the right way, mate. Strap like that, when you want to join, it's a matter of putting this one through there and this one through there. Toby will then take that, try and keep it nice and straight and flat. Hence this little fellow. I'm going to put that in the centre of the knot and you'll see that bind up during the recovery. And that will allow us to pull the straps apart. That is the correct way to join two snatch straps. Okay, we're attaching our bow shackle. Okay, here we go.
And to check more TJM forward driving tips, go to tjm.com.au.
Driving back down an old dirt track, yeah, I've driven down a few. Somewhere between where I've been and where these wheels are going to. Well, you can take the road that's easy.
One of the best pieces of recovery equipment you can take with you on any trip is a high lift jack or a kangaroo jack, particularly if you're travelling by yourself. Now you can store the high lift jack in a lot of spots. Most people tend to favour the rear of the vehicle because that's a spot where you don't really have to access a lot. Keep in mind that I don't particularly like bull dust and it'll get often caught up in the different joins here. It'll stop it from working, so keep that in mind. Alright, at the front of the vehicle here, you notice that the TJM bar has a T-piece built into it. Now, a high lift jack isn't going to be much use to a person that has a modern day vehicle with plastic bumpers front and rear, so having good sturdy bar work, like a TJM bull bar, is really important. Another thing you need, if you're going to be doing it in sand, is a base plate like this. Because when you're jacking up the vehicle, if you've just got the standard one, it'll sink into the sand. High lift jacks have a million different uses, but you need to pay special care to using them because they have been known to fling back and even whack you in the face, potentially breaking your jaw. Now, when you're using it, it goes without saying, you want to keep it nice and straight and keep in mind the balance of the vehicle. If it's in soft sand, it could fall over, so just make sure you've got an exit strategy. Now, I'm not actually stuck here, but you can see the advantages of having a high lift jack if you were. If I was in a big rut or stuck in soft sand, you can jack up either the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the vehicle, at the back, on the side, do a million different things with it. And what you can do when the wheels are up in the air is obviously put stuff underneath it, which can raise the vehicle and help you get out of a sticky situation. And to check more TJM forward driving tips, go to tjm.com.au.
Driving back down an old dirt track, yeah, I've driven down a few. Somewhere between where I've been and where these wheels are going to. But you can take the road that's easy, a highway straight and long, but the great adventure, that's the road I'm on.
What's going on here?
Mate, lack of clearance.
Lack of clearance. Looks
Yeah.
like someone's had a few too many Christmas puddings. Hop out of the car, we'll see if we can get you going again.
Are you having a go at me?
Just only a little bit. I'll get the snatch and strap, we'll pub you out in no time.
Toby, I give you a hand, except I'm finally balanced here and I have to stay here and watch it.
Finally balanced, all right. Now, at some point of time, either yourself or someone you know, like Don, is going to get stuck. If your friend is a bit like Don, you'll be getting to know the snatch and strap very, very well, because you'll be pulling him out a lot of the time. Now, this is the snatch and strap. It works like a ginormous elastic band, and it is by far the quickest way to get a vehicle unstuck, particularly in sand. This is probably the most important recovery piece you can ever carry with you on a four-wheel drive. The quickest way to unroll the snatch and strap is to just throw it out like that. This will be my end, and the other end will go on Don's end. Next piece we're going to use are these shackles here. Now, it's really important you only use rated recovery gear, especially your shackle, because if this lets go, I've actually witnessed a non-rated one breaking, flying through the rear windscreen, taking your headrest off and then flying through the front windscreen. If the person had been in the passenger seat, it would have killed them. So it's really important that you use quality gear. Now, the recovery vehicle, just feed the shackle through there and do it up. Now, when you're doing up the shackle, you don't need to do it up crazy tight, just finger tight will do. Now, there's a million different snatch and straps on the market. I'll let Don talk about that more later because he knows all about them, because he gets stuck a lot. Like any sort of recovery, there's no need to race. So with a snatch here, I'm going to take it off nice and slow to begin with. If that works, beautiful. If it doesn't, then I'll try a little bit harder the next time. Don, you got a copy?
Yes, mate, I'm ready.
Okay, we'll start turning your wheels now. Away we go. Okay, a little bit harder this time.
Thank you.
There you go, Don.
Thank you.
So that's a great example of how snatching can sometimes take 3 or 4 goes to get someone out. But remember, it's not a case of bragging or showing how much testosterone you have, even though Don needs some.
This is something that not everybody knows, but it is important. Snatch straps are made in different sizes. Take, for instance, this range. We have a 6-tonne, got an 8-tonne, got an 11-tonne, and got a 15-tonne. They're made like that so that they can suit the weight of your vehicle. Now, the general rule of thumb is pick a strap that is 2.5 to 3 times the weight of your vehicle. Obviously, if you've got a small SUV, this one might break it in half because it takes 15 tonne plus a safety factor to snap that strap. And what you really want is the snatch strap to break prior to doing damage to your vehicle. So it's pretty simple. If you've got a thing that weighs 2 tonne, 6-ton snatch strap will get you out of trouble. And up you go, up the range. And that's why they make a range of different sizes.
And to check more TJM four-wheel driving tips, go to tjm.com.au.
Driving back down an old dirt track, yeah, I've driven down a few. Somewhere between where I've been and where these wheels are going to. Well, you can take the road that's easy, a highway straight.
TJM stock a wide range of spotlights, and basically you can choose between halogen bulb or HID. Now the difference between the two is, one allows you to see a kangaroo from a long way away, the other one, HID, allows you to see a long way ahead of you and practically incinerate that same kangaroo.
There's a new light kit in town, and his name is High Intensity Discharge, HID for short. And nothing illustrates the power of the HID light more than when you compare this to my halogen headlamps. These shine down the road a kilometre at least, and they don't degrade every time you turn them on. One of the great advantages of a HID light is they use far less power, so there's less drain on your alternator. This is a 50 watt, and it just gives you fabulous light with half the wattage of what we used to use in the halogen lights.
And to check more TJM four-wheel driving tips, go to tjm.com.au.